everybody, thanks for coming by and watching today's episode. I'll be making this cute little bookmark, which is basically like a ribbon which holds your page. It's so lovely, isn't it? I mean, just look at it. I've had great fun making it, so I'm going to show you exactly how to do that now. Stay around, let's get started. Okay, so we've got the pieces here that we're going to need. I've got the main pieces that I've cut out for the shape of the owl. So we're going to need the body piece, and I'm going to talk through them in detail in a second. So we've got the body piece, we've got the face, we've got two wings, we've got a couple of pieces for the back of the hook and loop, we've got some eyes, we've got a little piece which I found this lovely little piece of glittery extra fabric that I had. It's got just fabric backing, but you can use anything really. I mean, you can even use a piece of paper and just put some glitter on it. So we just need a little piece like that. For the beak, we've got eyes. I've got thread to do a bit of embroidery on the face. So they're the main pieces of the actual owl. And just to add a little bit more fun to it, I want to back it with a couple of pieces of fabric. I've got some ribbon for the actual bookmark. I've got the hook and loop, which we're going to need, and I've got a little bit of interfacing just to give it a bit more sturdiness. I might even double that because I do want to give it a bit more strength to keep it from flopping about everywhere. And that's it really. We've obviously got a needle to do the sewing for the embroidery. And I've got this little tool which I really love using for these kind of projects, which just gives me a choice of circles. Obviously, if you don't have this kind of thing, it's fine. You can use anything like even a jar lid or something slightly larger. Maybe you could draw it with a compass. So just find something which is, I would say, about palm, just a little bit bigger than palm sized, you know, because you don't want to go too big depending on your book as well. Now, so in order to get the shape of the owl, so we've got that sort of shape there, I measured it against a sort of a book that's going to be used with it. So, I mean, this is a sort of a common size for a book, but I would check with your own books just to make sure that, you know, you're not making yours too big. Just draw a shape out onto paper before you cut it out into your fabric, and then you can sort of experiment to make sure it's the right sort of size. So with mine, how I did my shape was I actually ovaled it a little bit. I don't know if that's an actual word, but there you go. I'm always inventing new words. We've got half an oval there, and then I just moved it down a little bit before I did that side as well. So just so that it's not a perfect circle. Yeah, so that's what I did with that. So you could do that with an extra large jar lid, or even cut an oval out of a cardboard piece or something like that. And then you also want to do a slight oval for the body there, and I've made my body small because I want it to have a big head and a small body. So that's the kind of shape we're going for anyway. Now the wing pieces, I would say, are just like a couple of ovals with a little kick at the end, and that's just because I wanted to give it that little wing sort of shape. Again, measure it against the body size and just check that it does fit your body. And again, you can do this on paper first, just so you get an idea of what size you want to go with. Okay. Now the face, what I did was I actually liked the idea of having a little heart shape for my owl, for his face. So I've measured it against the actual head, and I have made it slightly smaller because obviously when we sew the outside, it is going to get smaller. So I would say just allow at least sort of half a centimetre or a quarter inch. I think mine's slightly bigger than that, but you want to leave that at the very minimum. Okay, we've got eyes for the owl, which we're going to stitch on. So for the moment, we're going to just work on the owl. So I'm going to move all of this out of the way. First of all, we're going to measure out roughly where we want the eyes to be for our owl. And I think mine are going to be roughly about there, like prominent like that. And I've threaded my embroidery thread onto my needle. excuse my finger, I cut myself with my cutter, so always be careful with these. I was making something else and unfortunately chopped my finger, so I'm trying not to use my finger so much. Anyway, going back to the point, so to mark out roughly where I want the embroidery to sit, I'm just going to make a little mark where the sort of centre is, and then I just want to mark a little point where I want the little nose to sit. Now you can't see that, but I can. That's my center point, and then I'm going to have it's going to be like a loop, and then it's going to go around. Okay, so I want one to sit about there and halfway between that one, and it's going to sit halfway between that one there. So that's roughly what I'm aiming for. And then again, I'm going to mark another point. I'm just thinking, okay, if that's the center line, I think it'll be about there. Okay, this isn't the most accurate way to do it, but I'm just sort of going with it. Okay, and then I'm going to meet it in the middle, and if it means my eyes are going to move a little bit, that's fine. So like that, and then it's going to go down and around. Okay, so that's fine. I can take those away now. So I'm just going to sort of roughly draw a little line connecting my dots a little, and just aim for that dot there. Oh, this is terrible drawing. It's okay. Okay, so we want that sort of shape, and we're going to start by embroidering it. And honestly, this is not hard. It's quite a straightforward stitch. So I'll show you the first one, then I'll speed it all up online. So we're going to go in, and you've probably done this when you were at primary school. I'll be surprised if you didn't. And then we're just going to go back through like that. Oh dear, you can see a bit of the colour bleed, but that's okay. It's not too bad. And you just want to go back through that hole that you've sewn it through. So if you can see like that, you can see where I've gone back into the hole, and now I'm on this side. I've just come through that bit, haven't I? So now I'm going to go back. Excuse my fingers, I'm very sore at the moment. I have had gel nails on my nails, and unfortunately they absolutely got ruined. I don't know if any of you can relate, but you know when you've got gel nails on and your nails just feel so horrid when you take the gel off. So my nails are in awful state at the moment, and I do apologise that you have to look at them at the moment. But I am avoiding having them any more put on just for that reason, because my fingers have been so sore due to my nails, just sort of with the gel nails, and I'm just not going to put any on for a while. So hopefully by the next video they should be looking a lot more better. Okay, so we've come to the end of that bit now, but I'm going to go back through and I'm going to satin stitch. Well, it's going to be like a satin stitch. So you're literally going to go, I'm going to go over because I want to keep that nice neat corner there. So my thread is still underneath from when I finished that one, but I'm going to go through, and now depending on which side you want to manipulate it, I'm going to come from the bottom. So I'm going through the stitch I've just done. Don't pull it too tight, don't want to skew the end there. Okay, so can you see that it's come through there? So it's just giving it a nice little end there. And then you want to go back through that stitch, okay? And what that does is it creates a nice neat sort of end, if you know what I mean, the edge, because it just looks like a continuous sort of rope. Can you see? So we've got a rope sort of stitch going through. Now I'm going to double that because I want it to be nice and chunky. Okay, And you really just want to go all the way back through your stitches that you've just done to create that nice sort of even ropey sort of shape, and it just covers up where your stitches actually are and where they start and stop. Okay, so we've got the basic shape. We've got the basic shape of the owl face there. We are going to now attach the buttons for the eyes. So we'll just sew those on. Or if you don't want to sew them on, you can always just glue them on, to be honest with you. There is also the option of not using buttons. You could just use a couple of pieces of felt or some black fabric. Now, I found these super cute stars in my stash. I actually really like the idea of stitching them onto the eyes when I stitch it down, so I'm going to do that now. So that's the next step. Now I want my eye, think about there, okay? Now I'm just going to sew that one through like that, okay? So now at least we're starting to attach it. So you have to hold it in place and then go back through opposite hole and down again. I mean, this is quite straightforward stuff, but hopefully you're okay to do this. I'm just going to put that little star through, just to add a little shine, little sparkle in the owl's eye. And then just make sure it's all gone flat and all the way down like that. Okay. And that's it. I also decided to embroider some eyelashes on. Okay, so now I've got the eyelashes on. I think just finishes it off a little bit on the eyes. And the next bit is we're going to attach the little beak. So I've got this little square, as I was saying earlier, of some old felt fabric with glitter on. I thought that would make a nice little beak. And I'm going to have it sit here at the bottom here, so we're just going to cut that to size. Okay, so I'll give it a fold down the centre, and I'm just going to snip it into like a little narrow beak sort of shape, like that. Didn't do that very well. Quite a beak, was it? There we go, it's a bit better. And the top, because I want it to sort of sit on the curve, I'm going to just take a small chunk out of the top just to give it a little curve. I think that's about right. I'm just going to glue the beak on, okay? I've got my glue, I've got this fabric glue by Trimmits, and I'm just going to put a little bit on the beak, and then I'm going to glue it on. So let's give that a little layer. And then just going to place it into a little owl. Oh, I like that little tiny bit of sparkle. It's just enough, isn't it? Okay, so that while that's drying, we'll have a chance to have a look at. Okay, so we're just going to give that some time to actually dry up, and we'll move that to one side while we're doing the next part. Okay, so going back to the head here, we've got, I want to make it a bit more sturdy. I do want to give it a backing, which is going to be this. So I'm just going to roughly cut that out, more for the shape for the moment, because we're going to sew around it anyway. Okay, and we've got our little wings, which I want to put this as a little backing on. So I'll just cut those out as well. Okay, so after we've got our pieces cut out, just move that out of the way for a second. We're going to stitch that in a sec, but what I wanted to check was you get your book and you need to measure the amount of ribbon that you need. As I'm measuring the ribbon, I'm thinking I want to make it slightly adjustable so that I can use it for other books, not just one book. So I'm measuring this, and we need it going all the way around, as we've done around the book, and a full length there. But this one, the longer piece that I'm cutting, I'm actually only going to go about half, because this much here will be the allowance of where you can stick your bookmark down. You'll see what I mean in a minute. So if I go about there, I think that's about right, because that gives me enough space to put my ends on. So what we'll be doing is we're going to be adding one of these, and we're going to be adding the hook and loop on the other end, okay? Okay, so as I'm measuring this, I want to decide what my allowance is going to be for other books. So I'm thinking about that much. I want to be able to go bigger by that much of a book, okay? You can measure your larger book to next to this one and just check how much allowance you would need on your ribbon. So I'm aiming for a book that's probably about this much bigger, and I'm going to cut mine here so I've got that much allowance for my sticky. I'm aiming for this much here, and that will be my hook, and that's my loop, sorry, so it's the softer one. And then I don't need as much of a bigger one for my loop, so I'm only going to go for about, I think about that much should be fine, okay? And that's all we're going to need. What we're going to do next, I'm going to move the book out of the way, so I no longer need that for the moment. We've got both ends of our ribbon like that, and one side will have the loop and one side will have the hook, okay? And then that will be attached to our owl before we stitch the owl together. Okay, so if we've laid out our ribbon nice and flat, the bottom is going to have the loop. Okay, so this is the rough one. This is called the loops. It's got the tiny little hooks. As you can see, they're really tiny, and this one's the slightly rougher one out of the two. So the other one's the hook, and we're going to keep that with the owl. So that's going to be attached to the owl. The hook is going to go at the bottom of the ribbon. Okay, so we're going to find the bottom, and it's going to attach to that. Now, if you think about how this is going to work, if you've got the ribbon upside down, it's going to sit like that, isn't it? Because we want the ribbon to be the right way up when we've got it on the book. So we're going to attach the loop to the ribbon, and it's going to be on the same side as the print, like that, okay? And to the back of that, I'm going to add one of these just so we've got something else to grip onto when we're attaching it, okay? This is a nice sticky one. Take my ribbon, place it into the middle like that, and I'm just going to stick the loop over it. I'm actually going to stitch this together as well, because I just want to make sure it's very sturdy and that I'm not going to just lose it somewhere. Okay, and I will, just to make it a little bit sweeter, I'm just going to give it a slight curve on the end like that, very slight. Ooh, that's it. I've just curved off the edge a little. And then when I come to stitching it, I want to make sure it's secure, so I'll stitch across there and I'll stitch all the way around as well, okay? And if you really want to do something cute, you can always embellish this side, which I didn't do, and I've just thought of doing it now, to be honest. So you could even put a little heart or something on there. Okay, so that's that side. I'm going to attach the hook next now. So if you think about it, when it's looped over like this, when we've put our little hook down, we're going to need to put the loop the wrong way around, okay? So that's going to go on the opposite side of the ribbon, like that, so that when we do close it over our book, we've got that level of adjustment there, okay? So that's obviously for a bigger book, that's for a smaller book. Yeah. If you want to, you can even cut this in half and add it at 2 different stages of your ribbon, so that you can really adjust your owl to where you want it on the book. So I might even do that, so we can put one at the top there to make it into a nice big book, but if I want to put it on a smaller book, I can also adjust to perhaps there, I'd say maximum there, so you could even put one here, so one at the top and one about there. That might be a good idea actually. So I'm going to cut my loop into 2 there, okay? Because I want to be able to adjust it. And I'm going to put one on the end bit here. So bear with me a sec while I do that. Ooh, stick to my finger. Remember, we are going to end up stitching around it as well. So I've got my ribbon on one side there, and that will be able to be close to there, so that will be the biggest part of the book. And for a smaller book, I can attach it and measure it now, like there perhaps. So that's like the size of a small book, okay? Now I'm not measuring this, I'm just going with it. I think about there, so that's a smaller book, isn't it? Yeah, about there. Okay. Let's stick that to there, and that just gives me a bit more range without using lots of loop. There we go. Okay, just try and be a bit neater than me. I need to now attach this to our owl backing because I'm going to stitch over it. So I've got the backing here, yeah. And this is the head and this is the body part. So put this face down like that into the back of your owl, okay? And we're going to stick that down. So get it lined up like that. Maybe like that. So there we go. We've got back of our loop, and it will attach to the book like that, okay? So now we're just going to go around and stitch these down and make sure they're all nice and secure. Just make sure you've stitched around those, okay? And maybe even just across there, just to keep the ribbon in place. Also stitch around the bit that you've done there. Okay, so I've just stitched that one together. I don't know if you can see, but it's there, you can see it. That's the back. So I'm just going to do the same thing for the loop, which is just down there. You do want to make sure this is nice and secure, because the last thing you want to do is when you're about to take it off your book, you don't want it to just rip off and the loop coming off and the hook coming off. It's just a pain, isn't it? Then you're gonna have to go back and stitch again. So just make sure it's nice and secure before you. It's just going through that extra little bit of effort to make sure it's all sewn on nice and tightly. There we go. That's also stitched on, and I've secured it on this side as well, just to make sure that it's all secure. Okay, That's it. We're on to the next step. Okay, so that's stitched, and also the little wings have been stitched, and I've gone around the edging as well. So we've got those, move those out of the way. And now we're going to attach the little face onto our owl. So just position it where you want it. I think mine's going to go about there, okay? So I'm just going to stitch around that and make sure it's all secured as well. I'm just going to pin, sorry little owl, just pin the owl's face down where I want it. And oh, actually, is that level? Yeah, that's fine. And then I'm just going to stitch around the heart bit just to secure the face down as well. Okay, I've stitched the face on, and now we need to just, on the back of this, I want to add this piece of, I'm just going to iron that on. It's just to add a little bit more sort of structure to the fabric. So I'm just going to do that now. Make sure it's the rough side down. It's not going to go all the way, but that's okay because we've got a little bit of seam allowance anyway there. I'm just going to trim around it and just get rid of it. Comes away quite nice and easy. Okay. Right, and now it literally is just to sew it together. And we're going to sew the wings on. So first thing we're going to do, turn that the wrong side up. It is going to go like that, wrong sides together. And that's from a previous project, that bit of glue there. And yeah, then we're good to go. Obviously you want to leave an opening to put that through, and I'm actually going to do that now because the last thing we want is to get that caught. So to be honest, what I would recommend, and this is what I'm going to do now, is roll that up, make sure it's right away from that seam where the seam's going to go, okay? And just so I really don't want to catch it, I'm going to make sure it's in the middle there, and I'm going to go around there first to start off, okay? So it's out of the way. Okay, so after stitching all the way around, I've left a very small gap at the top where I tucked the little ribbon in as well, and that's the part I'm going to actually try and turn it all inside out. It's going to be quite tricky because, I'll pull that out first, just because it is very delicate with all the little bits and pieces attached. So take your time and just turn it right around. Okay, I'm going to just stitch across that bit there, right, a bit there, so that's out now. Okay, so bear with me while I stitch that on. I'm going to go all the way around the owl, and I'm also going to attach the wings. It's looking really sweet, look. So I've stitched around it all, and it's just a nice way to sort of finish off the edges, isn't it? And now I'm just going to just attach one of the wings on. And I'm going to do the same for the other wing as well. So just line that up. We're almost done. I just want to add some nice little cheeks, some rosy cheeks on there, just to give it a little bit more character. And I think that's it. I think we're there. We just check how it looks on the book when I'm done. I've got these lovely soft pastels, set of 24. Nice colours, so they're ideal for this kind of thing. So I'm getting the one that I think will be the most like a blush. Nice pink colour. Just a little touch on the grey bits. Just a small amount. I don't want to be putting on too much. Doesn't look like she's got too much makeup on or anything. Oh, isn't she cute? Thank you so much for watching. It's been an absolute pleasure making this little owl bookmark. I hope you've enjoyed it as much as I have. And I hope you are going to give it a go. It's so easy to do. One of those ones you can get your kids involved in. And if you're not one with children, it's absolutely fine. If you're a reader, if you're a bookworm or an owl, then this is going to be a great one for yourself. Or if you know somebody who loves books and you really want to give them a nice gift, what a lovely little handmade thing that you've made yourself. And also, of course, you don't have to make an owl. It can be any animal, or even something like, I don't know, something you like a palm tree, for example. I don't know. You think of ideas, and if you think of anything exciting or fun, please do let me know in the comments below. It'll be great to hear what you've made as well. I hope you love books as much as I do, because I'm going to be making quite a few of these for my books and also to give as gifts. It's been a great one. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.